The cold wind swept across the barren plains of Virelia, carrying with it the fine dust of crushed rock and ash. Kyra struggled to stand, each movement sending sharp pain through her body. Her legs were bruised, her arm broken, and her confidence shattered. She had been discarded by her own people, left to die after a mining accident had left her useless in their eyes. Her species valued strength and productivity above everything else, and now, alone on this harsh, distant planet, she felt like nothing. Kira's eyes scanned the horizon. The sun was low, casting an orange glow over the jagged rock formations, but its warmth did little to chase away the chill or her fear. She had wandered for hours, unsure where to go, each step a battle against the throbbing pain and her despair. Memories of that fateful accident kept flashing in her mind. The collapse of the mining tunnel, the screams of her comrades, and finally, the cold faces of her own kin as they left her behind. She had been thrown away, not even given a chance to survive. Her stomach growled faintly. She had eaten nothing for a day, surviving only on small sips of water from the cracked containers she had scavenged. Hunger gnawed at her, but fear gnawed harder. The planet was unforgiving. Predators lurked in shadowed crevices, and storms could strike without warning. Kira felt the weight of her hopelessness pressing down, and for a moment, she allowed herself to collapse on the rough ground. It was then she heard the distant hum of engines, a soft, persistent vibration in the air. Kira lifted her head slowly, squinting against the sun. A small craft was approaching, glinting in the fading light. Her first instinct was to hide. She had learned that strangers brought danger, not help. Yet something about the shape of the craft, sleek and efficient, made her pause. It was not a military vessel, nor a mining transport. There was no emblem or insignia, only the promise of motion and perhaps safety. The craft landed a short distance away, kicking up a cloud of dust and rock. A ramp descended and a figure appeared. He was human, taller than Kira had expected, with broad shoulders and a calm, confident stance. His eyes scanned the area, and when they fell on her, he approached slowly, hands raised in a gesture of peace. Kira shrank back instinctively. "Stay away," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "I don't want trouble." The human tilted his head slightly, a faint smile playing on his lips. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, his voice steady and reassuring. "You're hurt." "Let me help." Kira's heart raced. She had not heard kindness like this in years. The aliens of her species, the ones who had abandoned her, had only offered cold judgment or indifference. Humans were rare on Virelia, and encounters even rarer. She wanted to run, to hide, but her body betrayed her. Each step was agony, and she could barely move. The human knelt beside her. "I can see you're in pain. You can't stay here alone." He extended his hand. "Trust me. I'll take care of you." Kira hesitated, fear warring with a desperate hope she had long thought dead. She saw no malice in his eyes, only concern. Slowly, almost trembling, she placed her hand in his. He lifted her with surprising strength, careful not to worsen her injuries. Kira gasped at the sudden relief, the warmth of being held not in fear but in care. The human carried her to the craft and helped her inside. The interior was compact but functional, filled with screens, tools, and small medical equipment. He gently laid her on a reclining seat and retrieved a small medical kit. "I can fix your arm," he said, "and clean those cuts. You'll be all right." Kira's eyes filled with tears. She had not been treated with such gentleness in a long time. She wanted to speak, to ask why he cared, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she nodded faintly, letting him tend to her injuries. As he worked, Marcus, her rescuer, spoke quietly, almost as if to himself. "Humans can be stubborn," he said with a wry smile. "But compassion isn't weakness. It's strength. You have to see that, Kira." Kira blinked at the sound of her name. She had not expected him to know it, yet he spoke with certainty as if he had been expecting to meet her. Something in his calm demeanor made her heart ease slightly. Perhaps, she thought, not all beings in the universe would discard her like trash. The journey through Virelia's plains was treacherous. The human pilot maneuvered the craft expertly, avoiding jagged rocks and sudden craters. Kira lay back, feeling the pain in her body ease slightly under the effects of the basic medical treatment. She listened as Marcus explained how he had come to this planet to search for rare minerals, unafraid of the dangers that had driven her species to ruthlessness. He spoke of human communities, of cooperation and the belief that life had value beyond productivity and strength. Kira absorbed each word, feeling a cautious hope rise within her. For the first time, she imagined a life where she was not merely a tool to be used and discarded. She imagined a companion, someone who would see her worth even when her own people did not. Hours passed, and the sun dipped below the horizon, plunging the plains into a chilly darkness. Suddenly, alarms on the craft began to blare. A violent storm, sudden and unforgiving, struck the area. Winds whipped the craft from side to side, throwing Kira against the seat despite the restraints. Dust and debris rattled against the windows, and lightning cracked across the sky in brilliant, dangerous arcs. Marcus remained calm. He gripped the controls tightly, maneuvering the craft to shelter wherever possible. "Hold on!" he shouted over the storm. "We'll get through this." Kira clung to the seat, her fear rising as the storm battered them. She had survived storms before, but never like this. And yet, even in her terror, she felt something she had not felt in years: safety. Marcus was fighting for her, keeping her alive when her own kind had abandoned her without a second thought. The storm raged for what felt like hours, but eventually, it passed. The craft was battered and scratched, but intact. Kira, trembling from adrenaline and cold, turned to Marcus. You didn't have to risk yourself for me," she whispered. Marcus smiled gently. "I did," he said simply. "Because you matter, Kira. Not because of what you can do, but because you exist. That alone makes you precious." Kira felt a lump in her throat. The word precious had never been applied to her before. Her species had always valued strength, skill, and usefulness. To be called precious simply for being alive was almost overwhelming. They landed at a small, safe outpost on the edge of the plains. Lights from the outpost shone like beacons in the darkness, and Kira felt a mix of hope and anxiety. She had never been among humans before, and their society was foreign to her. Yet she felt a strange comfort, knowing Marcus would be there beside her. As they disembarked, Kira took her first steps in what might be a new life. Each movement was tentative, but with Marcus supporting her, she felt capable. The outpost was quiet at this hour, but warmth and activity buzzed faintly inside. People moved with purpose, some curious about the alien who had arrived, others focused on their own work. Kira felt their eyes on her, but for the first time, she did not shrink from their gaze. Marcus guided her to a small room, preparing it as best he could for her comfort. He set basic supplies and left her with a simple message. "Rest. You'll need strength for tomorrow. And remember, you are not nothing. Not to me." Kira lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the words. She had been thrown away like nothing, discarded and forgotten. Yet here was a human, a stranger in this alien land who saw her as something precious. For the first time in her life, she allowed herself to hope. Perhaps she could survive, perhaps she could thrive. Perhaps she was capable of more than just enduring. As sleep finally claimed her, Kira felt a quiet resolve take root. The universe had been cruel, but it was not entirely without mercy. Somewhere out there, humans like Marcus existed, beings who could see the value in life itself. She would learn from him, trust him, and maybe, just maybe, she would discover her own worth along the way. Outside, the winds of Viralia howled, but inside the small room, warmth and safety reigned. And for the first time in her life, Kira believed that being thrown away did not mean she was lost forever. Kira woke to the soft hum of activity in the outpost. The walls of her small room were plain but functional, and the light streaming through the small window cast gentle patterns on the floor. She stretched carefully, aware of the ache still lingering in her body. Her arm was healing thanks to Marcus's care, and her spirits felt lighter than they had in years. For the first time, she wondered what it would be like to belong somewhere, not just survive, but actually exist as part of a community. Marcus was already at work when she stepped out. He greeted her with a nod, a quiet smile that spoke of reassurance and stability. "Morning," he said. "I hope you slept well." "I did," Kira replied, her voice steady. "Thank you." Marcus gestured toward the bustling common area of the outpost. Humans and aliens moved about together, working, trading, and speaking in a mixture of languages. Kira's eyes widened. She had never seen such cooperation. Her own species valued hierarchy and strength, but here, value seemed to be placed on contribution, skill, and even kindness. "Come," Marcus said. "Let me introduce you." They walked through the corridors, Marcus explaining the roles of various members of the outpost. There were engineers maintaining machinery, scouts preparing for planetary expeditions, and medics tending to injuries. Some aliens glanced at Kira with curiosity, others with thinly veiled judgment, but Marcus remained at her side, a constant presence that made her feel safe and supported. Kira found herself drawn to the workshop, a space filled with equipment and devices of every shape and size. Marcus had mentioned that she could help there if she wished. Her species had been miners, engineers, and survivalists by necessity, and despite her injuries, she had skills that could be useful. For the first time in months, she felt a spark of purpose. Marcus handed her a simple task: to help repair a damaged scanner used for detecting rare minerals. Kira examined the device carefully, her hands moving with precision. She felt Marcus's gaze on her, not judgmental, not critical, but patient and encouraging. Every small success she achieved made her heart lift. Perhaps she was not broken beyond repair, after all. Days passed in this rhythm. Kira worked, learned, and slowly regained her confidence. Marcus continued to teach her not just practical skills, but the ways humans viewed life and relationships. He shared stories of cooperation, sacrifice, and resilience. Kira began to see the world differently, not as a place where the weak were discarded, but as one where even the small and injured could find a place. But the universe is rarely kind enough to let hope grow without challenge. Word reached the outpost of smugglers operating on the planet, seeking to capture aliens with unique physiology for profit. Kyra's species was rare and valuable to the right buyers, and her presence drew unwanted attention. Marcus warned her, though his tone remained calm. "They won't care about your life, Kira, but will protect you." The threat forced Kira to confront her fears. She had spent so long expecting betrayal and abandonment that the idea of being defended, of being valued, felt almost foreign. Yet when she saw Marcus prepare defenses, coordinate the outpost's security, and speak firmly to those around him, she realized that trust was not weakness. It was strength. And perhaps she could find that strength within herself too. The smugglers arrived under the cover of night. Shadows moved across the plains, and small ships hovered silently near the outpost's perimeter. Kira and Marcus watched from a secure vantage point. Marcus's hand rested briefly on her shoulder, a gesture of support that carried more weight than words. "We can do this," he said. "Together." Kira nodded, a newfound determination settling in her chest. She had been thrown away once, abandoned and discarded. She would not let that happen again, not without a fight. As the smugglers advanced, the outpost came alive with activity. Humans and aliens alike worked in coordinated harmony, setting up barriers, sensors, and traps. Kira moved with surprising speed and agility, her instincts from years in harsh environments guiding her actions. Marcus coordinated the defense, giving orders while also ensuring Kira's safety. The storm of activity was chaotic, but each step of preparation strengthened Kira's confidence. She was no longer helpless. She had a role, and her role mattered. The confrontation was sudden and fierce. Smugglers attempted to breach the outer walls, but Marcus and the outpost defenders were ready. Energy pulses, alarms, and flashes of light filled the night. Kira used her knowledge of terrain and machinery to sabotage the smugglers' equipment, slowing their advance. She worked with precision, her movements confident despite the danger. At a critical moment, one of the smugglers broke through a secondary defense line, heading straight for Marcus. Kira reacted instinctively, placing herself between them. Using a combination of agility and quick thinking, she diverted the threat, saving Marcus from harm. The smugglers faltered, giving the outpost defenders the advantage they needed. The battle ended with the smugglers retreating, their ships fleeing into the darkness. Kira stood beside Marcus, breathing heavily, her body bruised but her spirit triumphant. For the first time, she realized that her value was not determined by her strength alone, nor by the opinions of those who had cast her aside. Her courage, ingenuity, and willingness to act had made a difference. She was precious not because of her appearance or abilities, but because of her choices and her heart. In the aftermath, the outpost celebrated quietly, tending to injuries and repairing damage. Kira and Marcus walked together through the recovering halls. She glanced at him, feeling gratitude and admiration. I didn't think anyone could care for me like that," she admitted softly. Marcus shook his head, smiling. "It's not about caring because someone is perfect or strong. It's about seeing their worth, even when they don't see it themselves. You've taught me that too, Kira." Kira felt warmth spread through her chest. For years she had believed she was worthless, cast aside like debris. Now she understood that worth was not given by others. It was recognized, nurtured, and proven through actions. Marcus had shown her that, and in turn she had proven it to herself. Over the following weeks, Kira became an integral part of the outpost. She continued learning, teaching, and contributing, her confidence growing with each passing day. Her relationship with Marcus remained steady, not one of dependency but of mutual respect and shared purpose. Together they explored new areas of the planet, discovered hidden mineral deposits, and even helped other stranded travelers who stumbled upon Virelia. Kira began to understand a profound truth. Being thrown away did not define her. The choices she made, the courage she showed, and the bonds she formed defined her. She was no longer a discarded worker, no longer a shadow of someone else's expectations. She was herself, precious, capable, and valued. One evening, as the twin suns of Virelia set in brilliant hues of orange and purple, Kira stood on a ridge overlooking the plains. Marcus joined her silently, and they watched the horizon together. The wind was cool, the air fresh with the promise of a new day. Kira felt a sense of peace she had never known, a feeling of belonging that was no longer tied to fear or survival. "Do you ever regret helping me?" Kira asked quietly, glancing at him. Marcus shook his head. "Not once. You've changed my life, Kira, and I hope I've shown you that you matter, not because of what you can do, but because of who you are." Kira smiled, a genuine, unguarded expression. She had been thrown away like nothing, yet here she was, standing on a ridge, looking out at the world with someone who truly saw her value. For the first time, she felt not just hope, but belonging, purpose, and strength. As darkness fell and the first stars appeared in the sky, Kira knew the universe was vast and often cruel, but it was also full of unexpected kindness. She had learned that being precious was not a gift given lightly. It was recognized through care, courage, and connection. Marcus had recognized it in her, and she had embraced it in herself. With that understanding, Kira felt ready for whatever the future held. She was no longer discarded. She was no longer alone. She was Kira, valued, capable, and precious, and nothing could take that away from her. And as the night settled over Virelia, Kira and Marcus stood side by side, ready to face the galaxy together, united not by obligation but by trust, respect, and the knowledge that life, no matter how small or injured, was always worth valuing.